Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Clinton Geoffrey here. Adam Ross will be joining me shortly. I want to welcome you to this week's program. There's Adam. Great to have everybody with us as we get into our weekly Tuesday night chats. Adam, how's it going?
Not too bad, Clint. Not too bad. Sorry, I was late signing on. I was watching the new league, the racers division of the new league, had their qualifying run, and it got a little bit hairy, but we should have our 10 drivers locked in for the show.
So we can jump right into that. The new iRacing League going on. I'd have to go back to the Rivalz chat to get the name right. It is I'm going to try and get this. It's a long acronym. Do you want me to try and get it? It's the Drysdale Racing Products Super Late Model iRacing League presented by London Recreational and Caldecott Millwright Services. How's that?
We changed the name. It's the Winter Meltdown. It's the Drysdale Racing Products Winter Meltdown iRacing Super Late Model Series presented by Caldecott Millwright Services and London Recreational Racing.
Now, are you going on the air with Steven tonight at 9 o'clock?
Yeah, that's the plan.
So you've obviously been running that through your head a few times to make sure you get it right, correct?
A little bit, yeah. Like I've put some thought into it, put some effort into it. Recently, sent out a bunch of emails, so yeah, it's been on the brain. So how can I get it wrong? It just rolls off the tongue.
I hear you, buddy. I've been letting myself go a bit. I've been growing the Bills' playoff beard, and they keep winning. So I'm scared if they make it all the way to the Super Bowl, what I might look like. But we're having fun with it anyways. And it's been 27 years since we've been this far. So awesome for the long diehard Bill fans. But, I'm also a Leafs fan, so I'm ready for the bottom to drop out any day and just be proud of our team. But we have a lot of racing stuff to talk about, Adam. But speaking about members of the team, the racing world lost a member of their team yesterday morning. We woke up to the news. It was all a buzz across the racing world that Ken Hill had passed away. And for those of you who don't know who Ken Hill is, he's a businessman in Six Nations, and he was part of the ownership group that resurrected Jukasa Speedway and put a lot of these big events together in recent years. Adam, I think you and I should talk a bit about our relationship with Ken. I mean, I had my honeymoon based on sponsorship money he gave us back in the day, and we'll talk about that a bit. We do have a long-standing relationship with Ken Hill back many years. Your thoughts about how the news came about, and what am I missing on the introduction to Ken?
Yeah, our relationship with Ken goes back 20 years. Super successful businessman, philanthropist, did a lot of great things with the money that they had made, did some wonderful things for their community. It's definitely a tragic loss for the Six Nations community and for the racing community as well.
Spencer, show a couple images of Ken if you got them there. There are a few messages that came out. Mayor Jim Diodati out of Niagara Falls is sending out a message. The falls will be illuminated in blue and green on top of every hour from 6 to 11 on Wednesday, January 20th, in remembrance of Ken Hill. He was a strong advocate for Indigenous rights, a generous philanthropist, and co-founder of Grand River Enterprises, one of many international successful businesses. And our sincere condolences go to the Hill family from Niagara Falls. Of course, from everybody here in the racing community, that's the same type of message we want to get out as well. You and I met Ken back in the early part of our broadcasting career when we were getting things started on Oval1.com. We had a talk show called the Dual Airbag Show, which is basically an infantile version of what we're doing here today. We'd get on there, and I remember Ken sponsored us, and he was a sponsor Ush Weekend through Village Pizza, and one of the cool things he used to do was bring down full-size pizzas. And every winter on Village Pizza Night, got a full pizza, and he fed the staff. And, that was always fun that we did. But, some of the other thoughts, Ken, I remember the morning we went for a ride with him. He was telling us all about his life and everything and took us back to his house. And, we had quite the day. And then ended with our sponsorship paid in a nice stack of cash like only Ken could do. So it was quite a cool situation there for us two young guys trying to make it happen. Your thoughts of our relationship with Ken and everything that we did?
He was just really supportive, very positive. Um, just wanted things to be wonderful. When he got involved in Jukasa and bought the place, he wanted the place to be beautiful. That was his goal. Everything he had was all about being beautiful, and he did things up.
Um, so the next question comes out of him. Obviously, the question you probably heard this a few times in the last couple of days. What happens now to Jukasa? Obviously, it's very early to start speculating. If I had to make a guess, I would say that they're going to be a-okay. Jerry Montour, the other partner, will likely carry on, and the place is doing very well. It's got a great future ahead of it with some major events. If we could just get past this virus and get open again, I don't see any issues with Jukasa. I think they're going to be great. Obviously, like we mentioned, a little fresh to reach out to Alex and start asking those type of questions. But we did plan to have him on the program here in the coming weeks. So when we get Alex on, we can talk about the future of Jukasa. But I think he's going to tell us the same message, that it's going to be strong for years to come. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's fair to say that it's quite a ways down the list of priorities for things that'll need to be addressed and dealt with. And I mean, they've got so many entities, so many irons, and so many fires that it'll take a long time to sort things out. Like we said, Kenny was a partner with Jerry Montour in the Speedway, just like he is in the golf course that they own, and I'm sure many other projects. So uh, I would expect we wouldn't even see much change for quite a long time.
I'm with you there. So once again, want to send our condolences out to the Hill family and everybody who's touched by Ken over the years, and wish them that success in their healing here as we move on from this horrible situation that was just brought to light yesterday morning, suddenly and shockingly. Um, Adam, let's jump into the new iRacing series. We touched on a little bit here. You've got a lot of the big names here in Canadian and Ontario racing. You listed off a few in your Facebook posts. Let's talk about some of the guys who are working in, how is it working out, and what people are going to see at 9 o'clock if they tune in right after our program tonight.
What people are going to see is some great short track racing. It's going to be the type of racing that they're used to going to on weekends here in Southern Ontario, because tonight they race at South Boston Speedway, and it is a tight racetrack. Tempers are going to flare, because tempers do flare in iRacing. That's the one thing the simulation does best. It can really piss you off. Um, Connor's upset. He was in the qualifier. There were 30 cars in the last chance race. They were taking 10 spots, and sure enough, there was a couple of wrecks that collected a number of drivers. And I wouldn't say it was the 10 fastest cars that are transferring into the main event tonight, but it was the 10 cars that survived, and that's what's left, and that's the product of short track racing. So you're going to see the passion, you're going to see the excitement, and with Stephen Evans doing the play-by-play, Clinton, you're going to hear the excitement. He is the best iRacing announcer I think we've encountered.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what Steven does, and you and I, from the first time we heard him, we're like, we need that guy, and that was a couple of seasons ago. I think we both talked about it off air. The biggest problem Steven's going to have is just figuring out who all these real racer guys are, because a lot of our fans and viewers are going to know the history of these guys, and that's something that guys like yourself and some other guests can jump in the booth and help him get sorted out. Now, you mentioned about short track racing. I'm excited because it is a lot tighter racing. I watched a bit of the practice race. I signed in through the iRacing server and watched some of that on Sunday. I'm excited to see how it goes at 9 o'clock and when we put the production value to this short track series. But Adam, there will be more cautions than we saw with the Rivalz Blacktop series. That's going to make it tough for you guys to carry the show on some nights. And how do you plan on putting out these hardcore feelings that are going to happen from week to week in a tight fought series that you're going to have?
Well, Clinton, we are going to encourage people to watch the movie Roadhouse and
You
be
keep going
nice.
back.
It is so. That clip, did you watch that clip?
I've seen it a million
That
times. I
four,
know exactly what you're talking about. You
that
should maybe
four
tell the
minutes of
viewers.
Roadhouse. We can, but there's the three rules of that Patrick Swayze brings into his bouncers at the bar. What are the three rules, Clinton? And every race official should follow these rules.
I know one of them is be nice. I think it's probably rule number 3. What were the other two?
Oh, you've watched the movie how many thousand times? All you said to me an hour ago, what do you need tonight? I said, I need you to be sharp. Be sharp. And you come in and
You
you
know,
jump
they
right
have
to the
about back
third
to
rule.
the one clip that you
Expect
share 3 times a month.
expect the unexpected, take it outside, and be nice. That's how we are going to deal with things. As people get upset, you just be nice. Say, "Hey, we're all here to race." I'm in my mind. I'm thinking about the conversation I've got to have with Connor later because he's super upset. Sometimes in racing, you do everything right and you still get the shaft. It is racing is such a crazy sport. If it wasn't such a fun and addictive lifestyle, people wouldn't do it. It's so frustrating. It is so angering. That's what it is. So you can't expect this to be any different.
Well, you've seen a number of what we would call pro or real racers walk away from the iRacing platform because it can be so frustrating at times and sell up their gear. So I think you're right there. Hopefully, you guys can keep it under control and keep everybody happy, but it will be a long season, that's for sure, on these short tracks. I'm excited to get back behind the wheel myself and turn some laps. I want to send a shout out to some of our people watching. I noticed Adam Vandal from Western Survivor Beef Jerky is watching. If you're out near his areas, make sure you check that out. Some great stuff. Greg's favorite thing, and the one thing Adam is not used to smelling very often or has to smell it too much, is in the booth, but it tastes so damn good. Welcome to the program, Adam Vandal.
So to talk, I just got a message from Jamie Maudsley, who is competing tonight in the main event. If you want to interview me, tonight's the night, 18th to 10th on the final lap. Goal was to make the A server once. Mission accomplished. Don't know if I'll be back again, but I'm here tonight. So that's the
There you
word
go.
from Jamie Maudsley. And that's and that's not specific to iRacing, Clint. If people only knew the temperament required to be a good racer, for all that
See,
we talk about, let's go ahead.
someone just posted our comments. It's a video game. Grow up. And that is such an easy thing to say if you've not played the game or the simulation. And I know we shouldn't be calling it a game. You know, Adam, they take it so seriously. And these guys are excited to be a part of it. They wait all week to qualify. And then you get taken out so quickly, it can be frustrating.
Here's the deal. Call it a game, call it a video game, call it a sim, call it racing. It's competition. And in this for all of the in all the world, people want equal opportunity, and we love when females come into the sport and do well, and minorities come into the sport and do well. This is a bunch of boys, Clinton. That is who is in the iRacing server. And I'm not saying that to be stereotypical. I'm saying it because it's a fact. We have 97 registered drivers. They are all boys. And almost all of them have egos and are competitive. And even if you take it to Ashwegan Speedway on a Friday night, how often do we talk about the Dylan Westbrooks, the Dave Baileys, drivers who win a ton? For
Yep.
all those drivers who win a ton, there's 20 to 40 other drivers who didn't win. So every time Dave Bailey has a season where he wins 10 out of 20 races, that is 10 out of 20 races that the other 40 guys go home not as happy as they wanted to be. It is a sport of letdowns.
You know, I remember when my kids were racing micro sprints and my brother Mikey was crew chief, and, Jack came in crying because he ran like crap after a heat or something. He was like 6 years old. And I remember Uncle Mike giving the old helmet visor slap down. He said, "Enough crying. Racing's 99% losing. Get used to it, kid." And I'm like, wow, talk about some hard love from Uncle Mike. But he's so right. 99% of the time you're losing. And if you're having a great season, it's 98% of the time you're losing. So, yeah, you have to get used to dealing with that.
So what you find is in real racing, they cope with it and they temper their expectations because most guys who show up with a Thunderstock know, okay, Dave Bailey's the guy to beat. Most guys that show up with a sprint car know Dylan Westbrook's the guy to beat. You sit down at iRacing, you should be aware of who are the drivers to beat, and you should be aware if you're one of them or if you're not. temper your expectations to have a good time. But I think that's something where the simulator is much more challenging than the real thing, because everybody expects to win and they get butt hurt.
Temper your expectations is a great line for racers. Yeah, that's some great advice. We've said it many years in a different way, which would be know the pecking order. Know where you fit in that field of drivers, because don't be pissed off when you're 10th if you're supposed to be 10th. And the same thing happens when we have our rules meetings. We have all these guys coming in and arguing about the guys that are winning, but the guys that are winning are doing their homework. They're in the shop night and day. You put the car dirty on the trailer and drag it back there next week and fill it full of gas and expect to be able to compete with their guys. It's just not the way it works. And the same thing goes for iRacing. I think that's the frustration for some of the pro drivers is, or the real outside drivers, is they don't want to put the time in that the guys who are taking the iRacing seriously have put the time in, and it gets very frustrating.
And they don't want to take the pleasure in a fantastic battle for 7th spot. And that's what real racers will do. Like if you go into the pits after someone has a knockdown fight for a 7th place finish, they'll go over after the race with a beer for the other guy or gal and say, man, that was awesome. You're not often going to hear someone after an iRace say, man, that 7th place battle was awesome. But they should, and it'll come to that, and we're probably spending too much time talking about it.
Good questions came in. Why isn't a guy like Dave Bailey in sprint cars? Fran responded, sprint cars aren't for everybody. That's the other thing. When I asked Dave that a few years ago, he just said, I want to race 3 nights a week. And at that time, a crate sprint wasn't able to do that. We're getting closer to that, Adam. Let's just, if I can, talk about our weekend for a moment. Oh, no, go ahead.
I want whoever asked that question, I want to throw it back and politely say, why do you think he should be in a sprint car or a crate sprint or
Yeah. Let us know. Probably because he's so good. They want you to move up when you're winning. And Dave's been in that division and dominant for a while. I look back to a guy like Abel Castelline. I remember sitting watching a sprint race with him, and he loved to watch them. And I said, you want to do that someday? And he goes, no. He goes, late model. He goes, Fender's where it's at for me. He goes, I have no desire to run open wheel ever. And he was one of the best, Fender guys we had back in the day. So let's talk about we'll get back to Ashweekend later. We got an Ashweekend related story, and I'll talk about the meeting I had today regarding Ashweekend with some of the staff and what's happening there as we get closer to the 2021 racing season. Let's jump into let's go to our Burger Barn video of the week first, Adam. While we're talking about sportsmanship and attitude, this was a video that you and I both shared. I shared it to my wife, Christine, because we've been watching football like crazy. You shared it to our chat. And it was actually shared by Elliott Sadler, and that's what kind of got it into the racing stratosphere for us to be sharing about it. It's a video between Tom Brady and Drew Brees, two of the best quarterbacks of the modern era here, after Tom defeated Brees and what a lot of the announcers had speculated was going to be Brees' last game as he may be retiring. I thought it was a really cool video of them talking after the game and Brady throwing a pass to Brees' kid, and it just showed some amazing sportsmanship, Adam. I think that's why you shared it. What's your thoughts on how would you like to set up this segment?
Let's just watch it. That's Drew Brees on the left. That's Tom Brady on the right. For those of you who aren't football fans, Drew Brees is the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. Tom Brady just came into his field and beat him, and now he's throwing a pass to Drew Brees' kid.
I liken Tom Brady a lot to Jimmy Johnson. A very dominant participant, won a lot of championships, but classy all the way through. And hell, I've been a Bills fan through and through, and he wrecked our season for many, many years. But I don't think you cannot respect a guy like Brady, a classic underdog. And, for those of you guys who don't like football, sorry about it, but it just goes to show Adam that, if you breed the culture and you get the sportsmanship going, you can really you can play hard, race hard, and still be a good person on the backside. I think is the message there that we want to send everybody away with.
Yeah, there's no reason. There's no reason for animosity or hatred, or just play the game, focus on excelling. Did you happen to notice Drew Brees' daughter beating the shit out of their son?
No, I didn't catch that.
As they were throwing the football. She was destroying her brother.
About to check that out. Chili Bowl week, Adam. An amazing display of racemanship, if you will, or racership, I should say. What an amazing week it always is. It's grown and grown and grown. A lot of discussions came down as we got through the week about a lot of great stories. I think of a guy like Brian Carber, maybe who won the the Invitational after being out of racing and recuperating after a bad micro or 600 sprint crash. Won the Invitational to drive the Keith Kunz Motorsports team. Ended up having to take the money to help his parents back out. They did a crowdfunding. He got back in, ran well. There was another driver you mentioned that had cerebral palsy who was out there competing. You got so many great stories. You got the guys who show up with the open trailer, battling the 10, 11 car teams of the Super Toyotas. I think it's an amazing spectacle, Adam, and you had some good points on it as we touched upon. Should it be short? Should it be limited? I thought you had some great antidotes on where we were. Antidotes, I should say.
The thing with the Chili Bowl that makes it awesome is, imagine being a golfer, and not only do you get to go play with Tiger Woods, but you get to compete against him. Or playing basketball against Michael Jordan. That's what the Chili Bowl is. You've got these mega teams with mega dollars, and they're on the same track as you are. So if you can build it, you can go and race. And Kevin Olson can go out there and wear an open face helmet. Or some kid from California can go out having never heard of a World of Outlaws sprint car or a Chili Bowl or know who any of these people are and go out there and I'm not going to say make an ass of himself, but was uncompetitive. The fella from Hawaii had the worst flip of the week, but that's what's amazing about the Chili Bowl is all of the unconventional things that makes it so different than anything else. And the alphabet soup, no matter how bad you are, no matter how poorly you perform, you are part of the main event. You get to race on Saturday.
I think it's a brilliant format. We talked to some of our scoring guys after the delays, Adam. So I thought most of the week went really well. You're going to have some nights when you have 5 nights of straight up racing, one of them's going to suck. You're going to have delays. You're going to have, a lot of crashes, lots of red flags, whatever it may be. I'm not centering out one of those nights. I think the selection of stars on any night is amazing. If you have any bit of knowledge of short track and dirt track racing, we don't follow a lot of those guys. Sure, we have our guy, or two who actually come from here or race our type of, discipline on the dirt that we all follow. But then you've got the mega superstars, the NASCAR champions, the World of Outlaw guys, the straight up midget, knockouts guys who do those cars full time, who are amazing at it. And then you got up and coming talent working their way up from guys who spent the last couple years working their way through the Tulsa shootout a couple weeks before. And I think it's going to be healthy for a long time to come. It's going to continue to grow. I think they're going to have to limit it at some point, Adam.
Maybe so. And we're getting some great comments. Like Mike says, what about the kid not wearing a Hans device, junked his car hard? That's the one that I was talking about. Most rules in any rule book, Clinton, are there to protect racers against themselves. Racers, sure. Tony Stewart would have never worn a head and neck restraint had it not been mandated by the rules, and he was very vocal about it. Now, 10 years later, 15 years later maybe, we're calling someone out, one out of the 300 drivers that were there, because he wore a neck roll instead of a Hans device. But that event does not have the same litigious rules that a lot of other tracks do. I believe it's important to have a head and neck restraint system. Absolutely. But I also believe in someone's freedom of choice. Kevin Olson went out and did laps in a T-shirt a few years ago, which I thought was pretty tacky. I thought it was in really bad taste. But it proves a point. Most drivers in their career will never ever have to use a fire suit, just like they never ever have to use their head and neck restraint system. But in that occasion where you need it, they're glad you have it. But does that mean it should be a rule? Not necessarily. Drivers should just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Of course it should be a rule. And just like next year, they should implement, you should have a Hans device. I mean, that's what the rule makers are there for.
Why should it be a rule? Why?
Well, because racers are stupid, and
Then
they will not wear.
let them be stupid.
No, because then it becomes a black mark on the industry. Sometimes you have to save them from themselves, whether it be cost
Not
savings or safety.
not if you're the Chili
Adam,
Bowl. It
how
does not
can
become a
you,
black mark on the Chili Bowl because the Chili Bowl is the event where all of that goes.
Adam? Danger doesn't give a shit. Death doesn't give a shit
I
if it's
know.
a Chili Bowl or Daytona.
I
How
know.
can you
I
say
know.
that?
Because it
You're
doesn't
just
need to
being
be
an
in the.
ass.
No, I don't. Clinton, I'm like
You
that with
really think
motorcycle. Ride a motorcycle
sanctioning?
without a helmet. What do I care?
Okay, I'll give you that, but you're not sanctioning. You're not the sanctioning body out there, and I get it. You're not the sanctioning body too, but I'm saying the sanctioning body should stand up. I'll predict you're going to see a rule like that come in, where you can't have that because they don't need the lawsuit, they don't need the bullshit that goes with it, and you can say freedom of choice, but the same guy who takes
Oh,
freedom
I'm
of
just
choice
playing
is the
devil.
same guy
Yeah,
who turns around and sues you and ruins the whole thing for
yeah.
everybody. So
I'm just playing devil's advocate because I like some things shouldn't have to be in a rule book, but they do. The rules are there to protect the racer from themselves.
So you get me all worked
Now,
up, thinking
how
I
about
really
that?
have a good fight on my hand, and then you pull the rug
No,
out from under me and say you didn't really mean it.
the one fella had all the safety gear you could want, but when you get hit in the head by someone's left front tire, it's going to put the lights out most times.
Yeah,
It did.
exact reason why you should have a Hans device because the same guy who won't
He
wear
had
it because
He had a Hans device.
I mean, yeah, but nothing is predictable. That's why you should take every opportunity to protect
Yeah.
yourself you can.
Oh, I think
And the
so.
Chili Bowl like that is the prime opportunity to throw somebody out or make rules that people have to conform to. Because if 10 guys out of 400 ish or whatever the number is, I know it's not that high, 300 plus, if 10 guys say, screw this, we're not going to wear a Hans device and not come, doesn't really matter. No, it doesn't. If you've got 24 guys and half of them say no, they're not coming, then, you still got to make that tough call. But, I mean, I don't know. I had an argument with someone the other day. They said, the rules have been the same for 6 or 7 years. Why are they changing now? And I said, because we just realized we had a problem with this incident or this part or this situation that we now have to close that loop. I mean, rules change every year when we figure out. Just like racers are playing the game, we have to stop them on the other side, So I think in that situation, you definitely have to take care of it. But there were some other things, Adam.
Yes.
Let's talk about tradition versus efficiency. That was another topic you brought up. Where were you going with that? I've got some ideas, but I'll let you lead it.
Well, and I had a great chat with someone who knows a lot about racing.
Hold on. Time out. Was that really your ringtone?
I've never changed my ringtone. That was one of the racers in the early session giving me a call. What was the question?
I don't know, but that was the softest ringtone I ever heard.
So I'm all for the alphabet soup going as long as you can in that day. Everybody races on race day.
Yep. Okay. But why the delay? Okay, so here's my frustration. Okay, you've got, I think Peter Turford said it best. I got to find his comment here. You've got the best of the best. They got their reputation, their health, everything on the line to come back and race short track racing. How are they screwing it up so bad to the point that we have everybody watching, yet we end up watching a 2-hour parade of farm equipment? It just didn't make any sense to me. And in that situation, you've got all the stars. Why aren't we seeing all the stars through that whole delay? Like, you needed somebody out there rounding them up, and you need a good producer to drag them all up front and say, okay, get me Kyle, get me Rico, get me Christopher, get me all these guys.
So
Especially when you change broadcast from Flow Racing, who had those guys all week, into the MAV TV product, which is now, that's a fresh broadcast for them. They should have talked to all those guys again.
You would think so. Now, I just got a request from our race director to see if I can chat with him on Discord. Would that make for interesting audio, Clint, if you can only hear half the conversation, or no?
It's not going to go well. It won't go well. Is it a dire problem that you need to address?
I've never been asked to step into the race director.
Spencer just came out and said, please no. Um,
You do you do it with Doug Leonard.
yeah, but we can hear Doug Leonard.
You can hear me. Oh, trust me, you won't want to hear the other side of this conversation.
That's going to get me all fired up.
Maybe. Here, let's find out. Against my Hey, what do we have going on, fellas? I'm live on the air, and they're only going to hear half of this conversation. What's going on?
We're not hearing any of the conversation. All right, we're gonna have to move off from that. Adam, take the call if you got to do it. Whatever. Um, the other situation we had at Chili Bowl was the Parade of States, and I was a little bit concerned. Okay, so you've got all this time for people to come out and strut around, and they're all touching hands, they're all close. To me, it was just a perfect opportunity to cut a lot of that out, and I think that's where Adam was going with his efficiency versus. Everybody, sorry about that. I'm told we had a main computer meltdown, but Spencer fired up the generator and got us going again. So we appreciate you sticking with us. Um, we're going to go into a couple things. We're trying to hook up with Adam here. A couple other things. Someone asked a couple questions about me. Yes, I have kids, boy and a girl, 13 and 14. And about my name, yeah. When I first started announcing, they told me my last name, Krutchka, was too ethnic, and I needed to pick like a Johnny Fever or Billy Sunshine or Clinton Geoffrey name, which is actually my middle name. So that's where we arrived at that. A couple of things we had going on today that we want to talk about. We'll wait to get Adam back to discuss a couple other items going on in NASCAR and finish up our Chili Bowl discussion. Is it was Vera Steyer's 86th birthday. Show the picture if you can, Spencer. Vera is Glenn's mom. She actually gave Glenn the property that the Speedway is built on. So we always celebrate Vera's birthday and want to wish her the best. She went through some health scares earlier in the year, but was back up and moving today. And they had a heck of a fireworks display out there for her today. Spencer, roll that if you can. And that was Vera's 86th birthday. So we want to send our best out to the matriarch of the Stars family and thank Vera for believing in Glenn's plan to build a racetrack in the backyard all those many years ago. Spencer, you there? There we go. So Glenn threw, this is right over the main grandstand of the Speedway. Tonight at 6 o'clock, they had a drive-by birthday fireworks celebration for Vera. So we want to wish her the best. I also had a meeting today at Oshweekend, well, on Zoom with our Oshweekend team. So the roadmap for us is a couple things. They have the emergency control group in Oshweekend that we'll be discussing our summer plans with and work to get the Speedway back open. We expect our schedule to come out in mid-February, if not sooner. And at that point, we'll start talking about ticket sales and all the other stuff we have going on. But the plan is for us, the same as all the other dirt tracks in the province, to plan a full season and get ready to try and move ahead through the virus situation. So we're excited to try and make that work and continue down that road to make sure we're at least on the right path for planning the things we need to make sure we can at least reserve our spots and let you guys know where we plan. But we do have a super exciting summer planned out. Hopefully we get to do all or most of it, both at home at Oshweekend and with the crates and some of the 360 stuff we'll be announcing in the next week or so is going to be awesome. So we're super excited about that. Here in G-Force, we've had all kinds of great stuff. Part of my meeting, I was telling them that we did about 25 live shows last year. We're scheduled to do at least another 25 this year and possibly up to close to 50 if Oshweekend opens. We're excited to have that. Adam, do we got you back? No? Oh, we froze him up again. So we'll bring him back here shortly. Another situation that went on. Adam's looking at me funny. You here? Are you here? Spencer's working on the connection. All right, I'm going to jump into another segment we had. Rico to Weaver and Jack to Rico Aber Racing. So I'm hoping to discuss this with Adam. I'm not really sure whether this was a joke originally, how it all came about, but it came out first off last night or the night before that Rico was leaving Rico Aber Racing. Nobody really knew what to make of that. And then it came out that he was headed to Weber Valley Speedway. And then the latest incarnation is that Jack Houdenchild is going to drive the number 24 for Rico Aber Racing. Adam, what's your make on that whole thing? Uh, Someone said Rico may be getting a better opportunity than his own car. I don't know.
The lines between reality and fiction are so blurred right now, man, that will make
So Adam's still having connection issues, and we'll see if we can get those sorted out. There was another situation that went on this week, and we may have to cut today's show a bit short with all these technical issues we got going on. First off, I just want to mention all our supporters that are with us. You see Jibs at the bottom of the screen right now. Of course, we've got Six Nations Bingo and Pinty's, along with Burger Barn and Brian's Farm Auctions, all the great people who help us out, help us bring this show every week and keep us strong. So if you're out and about and need any of their services, make sure you're checking out what they can offer for you as race fans, and let them know you saw the show through racing and you found them through the program, I should say. Yeah, it's not my kids on the internet. My kids know to stay off the internet from 8 to 9 o'clock. It's the only time of the week that I need the internet for dad stuff, so they know better than to stay off of it. Let's talk about Taylor Gray's situation, a young driver at Daytona who was caught videotaping while driving at speed at the most wildest place ever. And here's a tweet from Cameron Davidson. Hey, Taylor Gray, I'm pretty sure when you're going for an ARCA racing license, this isn't the proper play. And so he sent out over social a video of him driving at Daytona holding the phone. Now, that is crazily insane. And there's the video from in the car. And you had to know that the officials weren't going to be happy about that. Even here at home, we have instituted for our Thunder stock and mini stock division no electronics in the car, because we had a guy like Dave Bailey out there watching race monitor at times live as he's doing laps, and that's just a dangerous situation. But in NASCAR, it's a whole other deal, because you've got the rule about any type of electronics in the car is so touchy and sticky. The fact that they have them there, because it could be, traction control, rev limiter, all kinds of other things can be controlled by apps and such. So the fact that he had a phone in the car at all is going to disturb a lot of people. And even though you're a teen, that wasn't the coolest way to get out there and get your Daytona license as you're trying to work your way up through the ranks. So that was the situation we were going to talk about. And then the fine came down. He got fined $1,000 for this, which seems like it's a bit ridiculous. And even Adam said, even the regular news media realized that's a bit of a joke. $1,000. So it begs the question: who is this guy connected to? What type of palm greasing was going on to get it to $1,000? I can only imagine, where it could have been. Just curious what you guys thought it should have been as far as a fine go. So that's another story from the week that we were going to discuss at length, but we seem to have lost Adam. And anything else you guys want to talk about, let us know. We'll try and jump in here as we try and drag him back to the call. I'm going back to see if there's any comments I might have missed, but I think we're caught up for now. Don't forget, we do have the live iRacing coming on tonight. And, Stephen Petty says the other thing, too, is on top of it, he's under the age of 18. You can't even race on the speedway till you're over the age of 18. So doing those types of stunts and amateur things is certainly not a cool aspect either. So that's something they will definitely be monitoring, and I'm sure they're going to get a lot of feedback on the negative side for the reasons that they didn't, come down harder on young Taylor Gray. So I think we're going to wrap up the program right now. We'll let Spencer get his stuff back in order. We'll try and dial up Adam next week and get him back on the program. Don't forget, coming up here in 15 minutes time, we have our new Winter Meltdown series for the Super Late Models coming up on G-Force. Make sure you check it out. Unless Adam did just join us now. I was just wrapping it up, Adam, because you haven't really been able to join us here, and it's not much fun talking to myself.
Adam's not very happy. It's
About what?
I think it's Facebook. Like we've been having, and I don't think this has happened on this show, but on our Thursday nights, we've been completely screwed up by Facebook glitches that just drag everything else on my computer down. Maybe not. I could be making excuses.
Yeah, not sure. We don't touch Facebook for this, so I'm not sure what's up. Your thoughts. Two things I touched on while you're away. You were talking about Rico going to Weber, and how reality was blurred lately. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know what's happening. Like it's all so weird. Who knows what's real? So I'd rather not have an opinion on it.
I reached out to Rico today. Didn't get back from him, but I'm sure with everything going on in the past week, he's been inundated with requests and stuff like that. So we'll try and follow that one up. The Taylor Gray situation is something we talked about too, Adam. We showed the video. Your thoughts on it being only $1,000 fine.
Well, the $1,000 fine to me is ridiculous. Their family are oil tycoons. His grandfather sold his oil company for $1.7 billion. $1,000 for taking a video? And like the story says, Jennifer Jo Cobb got fined $5,000 just for having a cell phone in her fire suit in 2015. Not driving 200 miles an hour, trying to get in to get eligible. Like, he can't race because he's only 15, so he's just turning laps. They probably prefer you to turn those laps with two hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah. Is it a different deal because it's NASCAR and ARCA?
It's a different deal because his family are billionaires.
And they're basically owned by the same people, right? So what would have an appropriate fine have been?
I think six figures.
Wait a minute now. $100,000?
They tossed out Carl Long years ago. It makes no sense. Clint, the mecca of speed. Have you ever seen Tom Brady take a snap while chatting on his cell phone? No. It's the message it delivers. Don't text and drive. You're not, now, granted, running around Talladega and Daytona, I hate to be a spoiler, takes very little talent. Hold the wheel, put your foot to the floor, and drive in circles. Like, it's not a skillful track. But that doesn't change the notion that you don't have your flippin' cell phone in your hand taking video while you're driving around the track. You make a statement. Now, if you know the family's got tons of money, so you don't want to lose them as a racer, you find them an incredible amount of money, make a huge example, make them stand up and talk about what a dumb choice it was, and move on. Even Yahoo, Google it, search it, go on Yahoo and search it. Even the news says that it's just $1,000 fine because it's a huge problem. Hell, if I get caught being on my phone going to work tomorrow, what's the fine for that? I think it's $350.
Yeah, and you're not in a race car.
I can't even break 100 miles an hour getting to work.
100 G's. Wow, you're stiffer than I thought. I was thinking 10. Maybe 25.
Huge example. When there's things that you never want to deal with again, you make an example. 1,000.
Yeah, but you have to. You're also setting a precedent, right? And they kind of did with Jennifer Jo Cobb. So maybe they should have stuck there. But, once you stick someone with $100,000, every penalty anywhere close to that is going to have to be $100,000, which, you got to watch that too a little bit.
No, it doesn't. Who was the last person to get what Carl Long got for that engine violation years ago? I don't even remember the fine. I just remember it being so unfair.
And, I also think you can't temper just because they're billionaires. You cannot slap them with a bigger fine than you would a poor guy who got in the race and did the same thing.
But I would give them a huge fine. But this gets better. So what NASCAR was unwilling or unable to do, Cam Davidson, a driver who races in our G-Force League tonight, he tried to qualify for the main server tonight, got internet famous with this tweet. Spencer, throw the tweet up. Have you seen it yet, Clinton?
Yeah, we
Hey,
showed it while
Taylor,
you're.
I'm pretty sure when you're going for an ARCA racing license, this isn't the proper play, Chief. At DGR Racing, at NASCAR, at Ford Performance. Now, you might think, hey, no big deal. Someone tweeted this, whatever. Nobody's going to see it. It's been shared by news everywhere. This tweet by Cameron Davidson has been shared all over the place. You will find it online. It's being cited in mainstream news stories, and that's where the problem lies. NASCAR doesn't need to care whether Adam Ross thinks a $1,000 fine is bullshit, but Ford's going to care. You think this reflects well on Ford? That their driver has got a cell phone in their hand driving down the backstretch at Daytona? That's the attention that they can't afford to have.
You know, the dig on NASCAR for a long time was the drivers had to be too squeaky clean and there was no personality left. I mean, more than ever, society is super sensitive to everything. So you've really got to be on your best behavior if you're going to get anywhere. And any type of negative attention is probably not good, Adam. And that's not something you always felt. You used to say, there's no such thing as bad press, just spell my name correct. And I'm not sure in today's day and age that's still as true as it was when you said it to me 10 years ago.
It's fairly true. One thing I did think about, I'm not going to be all negativity tonight. Have you noticed more and more people are getting involved in NASCAR? Like, it's starting to become trendy again for people with money to get involved in the sport. You got Michael Jordan. Now you've got Pitbull as a part owner of a team. Scott Borchetta buying a NASCAR team. Like, these are big players in the industry of entertainment, whether it be sports or music. But we haven't seen this kind of interest in quite a long time.
No, and I love the fact of influx of new people. I mean, any sport needs that. Our sport needs it more than ever. I just, we have to stay away from people buying their rides. We need talented people to make these things actually get on the track and not more young, rich people just jumping in without the experience or the situation like we had. Like both of the two hottest topics we talked about today were inexperienced guys jumping in and trying to get their start in the sport in the wrong way and bringing light to it for the wrong reasons. That's certainly not what we need, but I think we definitely need some new money. Having Pitbull and Michael Jordan in there and those types jump in and bring their footprint and their audience to the sport can only help.
The bigger divide we have in the sport of auto racing right now is there is absolutely no path from the minor leagues to the big leagues because it's two different sports. If you want to go NASCAR racing or Indy racing, you can't start with short track racing. They don't race on short tracks anymore. Like they run more road courses than they do short tracks. You need to be a road racer. So that path that was always there, whether it was the ASA late models or whether it was asphalt modifieds, like there's always been different kind of trends of where people should go to get their foot in the door. That's gone now. How do you get your foot in the door? You run thousands and thousands of laps as a teenager, as a pre-teenager, like Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, I think, is fascinating to me because here's someone who has spent the last 8 or 9 years climbing the ladder to get where he wants to get. And finally, now that he's a champion, he can step out and do the things that he wants to do. Didn't do those things while he was coming up through the ranks. That focus, that laser focus, was taking him where he wanted to go. And it is weird. There's no story there. So now, same with Joey Logano. They're finally developing a personality. So we can decide if we like them or not. Before they didn't have one. They didn't have that huge identity. There was nothing to cling to.
Well, we've talked about it before. That's where a guy like Stuart Friesen jumps in. He's bringing a huge fan base from the Northeast. That's how NASCAR used to be. You would have a Rusty Walls come up from Wisconsin in the ASA who had a tons of fans who already booed or cheered for him, and they were watching what he was doing either way. And, so it takes a while for NASCAR to build up a fan base for these guys. Nobody was cheering for Alex Bowman a few years ago. Sure, Chase Elliott always had fans, or Ryan Blaney had fans because they were fans of the family or his father or grandfather. So that's where that comes down. But I think, you're not wrong. It is definitely two different sports now. And I think some guys have been able to throw that back in. There's one more thing I want to talk about, Adam, and there's a guy that I actually reached out to today to try and get on the program as well. And we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Andy J. Koyak and what he's got going on down there with a guy who's close to you, Tony Blanchard, on the One Rail team. They've been running practice laps on the weekend. Andy J is a guy who's a grinder, will drive anywhere to race anything over the years. Great to see a guy like that get a shot, and a guy like that is who most of us from the Northeast should be cheering for. Your thoughts on Andy J as we work to get him on the program possibly next week?
There's a driver with an identity, and I don't mean any disrespect to young people who want to make it in the sport. I'm more disrespecting the sport and what it has allowed to happen, Clinton. Let's embrace Andy J. Let's love on him. And I do want to talk about something. I've got to get off here to get ready for the broadcast. But Bernal, did you see Bernal's interview at the Chili Bowl after he wrecked McDougall's run through the alphabet soup?
Did not catch that. I know you commented on the chat, but I didn't see it.
The most unpopular guy in Tulsa, because McDougall could have run the gauntlet through the alphabet soup and really made it somewhere. Bernal on the last lap got into him, spun him out. McDougall's day was done. Bernal got disqualified. They interviewed him about 5 minutes later. And this is a time where I think anybody would be within their means to say, look, it's Chili Bowl last lap. I'm going balls to the wall to make it happen. And he didn't. He owned it. He said he thought McDougall was going to go high, so he sailed it in on the bottom to throw a slider. McDougall ran low. He ran into him and spun him out. I thought it was very honest and authentic, but it was also brilliant to own that moment, say, here's what happened. I wish it hadn't happened. Let's move on. And then he went and privately apologized, but I thought that was a huge moment.
Gotta love the class act. Own it when it's your problem. That's one thing you try and show these guys in the iRacing. It's coming up tonight. Give it a chance, folks. If you haven't seen it before, 2 minutes time. It will be Winter Meltdown. Adam, give me the whole line one more time before you disappear.
The Grisdale Racing Products Winter Meltdown iRacing Super Late Model Series presented by Caldecott Millwright Services and London Recreational Racing.
How many times are you going to have to say that tonight? That's the over-under.
I own it.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks. We appreciate you sticking to our technical difficulties as we work to keep the rats on the wheel every week. Thank you, Spencer, for everything you do for us. And we'll talk to you all again soon. Stay safe. We'll see you at the races.
That guys.